Welcome to the Organic Podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, mechanical engineer, lifelong athlete, and recovered overachiever, here to empower you to pursue your highest potential and live freely as your happiest, most organic self. Every week, we'll dive into topics ranging from personal growth, mindset hacks, psychology, and a blend of science and spirituality to give you all the tools you need to stop living on autopilot and start creating a life of freedom, meaning, and fulfillment as your most organic self. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, then let's plant those seeds and grow. Hello everybody. Welcome back to my podcast. Holy crap, your girl has just been frolicking in the mountains and then came back to an absolute shitstorm that is the world today. So I'm not going to be talking about any of that, but this episode is truly integral to, I cannot, if there is any episode that you listen to in all of my episodes, I need you to have this be the one. I need you to have this be the one, because where you are giving your attention creates your entire life. And if you're not aware of the factors that go into that, or not consciously putting intention into your days, your thoughts, why you think the way that you do, you will always be living on someone else's schedule, someone else's beliefs, some other system's beliefs, something that's not true to who you are at your core as a person. If you are not thinking about where you're spending your attention, where you're giving your energy, and why, you are not fully living as your most organic, happiest, highest self. You're simply not. Unfortunately, this whole structure that leaves us living in this way is by design, and there's a lot that goes into that. It's quite a loaded statement, but it truly is by design, because when it comes down to it, there are people, there are systems, there are structures that benefit from more people being disconnected from themselves, not truly actually confident, standing in their own individual unique beliefs in who they are as a person, and they benefit from people who are more susceptible to being controlled in that way. Our attention is obviously the most exploited thing in the world, literally in the world. Your most valuable currency that you carry, the most integral part of your existence, is what you are giving your attention to. And unfortunately, you cannot possibly live a life that is truly fulfilling and meaningful if you are just living on autopilot, not even consciously aware of what you're giving your attention to every day and what you're spending your time on, and instead just reacting to life, which I feel like is a cycle that a lot of people get stuck in, and I've definitely been in before. And when you put that into perspective, you realize your entire life is created by what you focus on. And what you focus on is obviously what you give your attention to. And this stems into every single area of your life. And if it stems to every area of your life, then it is highly, highly, highly important to your quality of life. And it's also something that you actually want to put conscious thought into, rather than kind of living on autopilot and just subscribing to certain habits or patterns or beliefs or thoughts or whatever you want to say, just because you don't even realize that you're doing it. So let's get into it. As I just said, your attention is the most valuable resource that you have. It makes up your entire life. It is the most valuable currency that you carry. And this is not a secret. It's not a secret to the companies trying to sell you stuff. It's not a secret to anyone who knows what they're doing when it comes to trying to exploit that. Why do you think that companies pay so much? Why do you think they pay millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars for advertising, for Super Bowl commercials, for doing anything they possibly can to get eyeballs on their stuff? It's because your attention is so valuable, because if they can get your eyes on something, they can get you to buy something. They can get you to agree with them. They can get you to support their movement, support whatever product they have. It is always for their gain, for them to see you. And this doesn't mean that all advertising is bad. How would anyone with actually good products sell if they don't have advertising, if they don't pay for stuff? It's not all an evil doom and gloom thing, but it is certainly of note to realize the dollar value that you can put on spreading a message to so many people. And just because all they care about is their attention. Your attention influences every other part of your life, and it influences your decisions and your beliefs and the way that you see the world influences your actual reality, which then influences obviously every other part of your life. Tony Robbins has a saying, where focus goes, energy flows, which speaks to the fact that the things that you focus on tend to get bigger. If you think about it, even thinking about conflicts, I feel like a lot of people could relate to this. When you're worried about something, when something's bothering you, a good example I've heard is like if you're talking to someone and they don't answer on text for a little bit, like romantically, you're trying to, I don't know, talk to a guy or something, and they're not answering for a while, and you start to freak out, and you're like, oh my god, he hates me, I'm freaking out, you're stressed about it. As soon as you start talking about it more, that problem expands drastically because you're focusing on it. You're choosing to give energy to it. Thoughts, problems, issues, they require energy to stay alive in your head. And you are not all the thoughts in your head are not facts. They are thoughts. They are simply passing thoughts. Some of them are proactive, some of them are negative, some of them are helpful, some of them are not. But you choose which ones you focus on, and you choose which ones that you give your energy to. And if that's the case, you need to focus on the ones that actually serve you in the life that you want to have and the type of person you want to be and what kind of energy you want to be feeling. Because anyone, do you just know someone who is like super negative, or maybe you can think of someone from the past, friend of a friend, whatever. Anyone who's super negative, you notice how they're so draining to be around because all they'll talk about is what's negative. You ever think there's a correlation between the fact that all they talk about is negative things and therefore they're a negative person, so then all they see is the negative in everything? That's the exact point I'm trying to make here. And I've talked about this in other episodes, but your brain has a little lovely feature to create the algorithm of your life called the reticular activating system, which is essentially the filtration system of your brain, which basically your beliefs tell it what is important and what is not. And your brain doesn't really question what you tell it. As long as you're not saying that you're in danger or something is a threat to your survival, your brain's not really going to question the things that you tell it based on what thoughts and beliefs you give energy to. Your brain kind of just eats everything that you feed it. It's kind of just like, okay, the world is shit. All right, I'll look for everything that supports the belief that the world is shit. All men suck. All people are evil. Or insert whatever other belief you want to say. That's the belief that I have. Okay, I will do my job to filter out every single thing that I'm getting as input, which is so much more than our brains could possibly consciously interpret at once. But your brain says, okay, I'll filter out everything that I see and to just see just those beliefs, because that's what's important. That's what you're telling me is important by basing it off of what thoughts, what beliefs, whatever you prioritize. So there is legitimate scientific, psychological backing based on how our brains work to the fact that what you focus on expands. And you can use this to your advantage. You could use it to be a more positive person, to have more good things come into your life, because what you're seeing at any moment, what you're experiencing in the world is by definition only a small factor of what's actually happening across all of reality. Because like I said, your brain cannot possibly consciously interpret everything that you're taking in at once. It cannot take in all of the events of the world. It cannot take in everything around you. And if that's true, there's always going to be good, there's always going to be bad. If it's just whichever one you're looking for. So if that's the case, why look for the bad when you can just use the same amount of effort to look for the good? Now, I will say our brains are wired for negativity as a survival response, in the sense of it is more beneficial to our primal brains to be anticipating danger and disaster and something that we need to be in anticipation of, as in fearful of, because that keeps us more safe. If you're constantly worrying about something going wrong, then you're more prepared to survive if something does go wrong. That is the programming that's happening in your brain. That is the ancient Windows 1 hardware in all of our brains living in this modern society. Okay? I think I've said this enough, but I forget. A lot of people talk about repeating themselves and how, repetition is key for these things. I'm still getting used to that. So if that's your first time hearing me say that, please do not feel bad or insulted. I'm just getting used to the fact that, some people are listening to one episode at a time. Not everyone follows me on Instagram. Whatever. I'm going to stop rambling. But the continued point that I'm making here is whatever you focus on expands. Our brains are primed to focus on the negative. Therefore, focusing on positivity, opportunities, good things happening, good people in the world, good things happening in the world, it's something that takes conscious effort and awareness to actually create in your life. And that is all based on what you give your attention to, including your thoughts, including the beliefs that you carry, including the ways that you see the world, your worldview, why you think the way that you do about certain things. Don't just blindly believe every thought that you have. As I said, you are not your thoughts. You are the conscious awareness behind your thoughts. And when you actually realize that, you will feel so much more of a sense of empowerment over creating a life that you want, rather than feeling like you are just stuck with the thoughts that you have. You're just stuck with the beliefs that you have. The world's just shit. Everything's bad. All men suck. Like, whatever negative thing you want to believe, if you want to hang on to those beliefs, like, you are choosing that. You are choosing that. If you fight for your limiting beliefs, you will get to keep them. I definitely butchered that quote. I got that from Samantha Daly, who got it from someone else. But it's true. If you fight for these negative beliefs, you will get to keep them. If you constantly are affirming to yourself these bad things about the world, these bad things about different belief systems or people or whatever, you will continue to see reasons for that. There is always both realities available to you. Why am I talking like that? There's always both realities available to you. It's just a matter of what you focus on. Which one are you going to prioritize? Do you want to be a more positive, grateful, happy person? Or do you want to be a more pessimistic, scared, fearful, more disappointed person? Which one do you want? And which one actually serves you in your highest good, living independently for yourself as your most complete organic self? Which one is better? You tell me. I feel like so many people, me included, absolutely, have gone through life, or maybe are going through life, just going through the motions, going through so much stress, having such a busy schedule that it feels like it's impossible to really do anything except react to everything that's coming at you and just take things as it goes and just try to keep swimming while you feel like you're drowning in stress or just drowning in the overwhelm with the things that you have going on. Living in that way of being in like a state of reaction all the time, it's literally so exhausting. And honestly, to get out of it, it just takes becoming aware that you were in it in the first place. I have absolutely had periods of my life in the past. If you listen to the first episode where I talk about my story, you will know. I have had many years of experience on the resume of my life being in a state of constant stress and overwhelm. Like, I was that bitch. I was her. I was the girl who was doing so much all the time and could not escape my overwhelm and my stresses. Did I, for a damn minute, have extra energy to put conscious thought into what I was giving attention to be creating the best life for myself and my highest expression? Fuck no. I was literally just trying to get by. I was just trying to swim in a sea where I felt like I was drowning in everything. But that world was partially my own creation. Whether I realized it or not, it was, because as much as I did have a lot of things that stressed me out, I also fully was so used to just being overwhelmed all the time that I made it like that was just a fact. It was just a fact. It wasn't something I could escape. I can't escape my stress. I'm just always stressed out. I'm always overwhelmed. I always have a million things to do. And I'm always just in a place where I feel like I can never catch a break. That's how it felt. That's absolutely something that was true given my circumstances just with my time schedule. Like, literally, they're like, some of my weeks, y'all, like, there are not that many hours in the day for me to fit in all the shit that I was doing, especially high school, college. But at the same time, those beliefs are what kept me stuck in those patterns for so long, because it's what I was focusing on. It's what I was telling my brain was true. And my brain took that and said, okay, we're going to look for all the ways that that's true. And I'm not saying that if my mindset was completely different, my life would have been drastically altered and I magically would have had a million hours in my schedule. No. But my stress could have been thoroughly reduced if I just allowed myself, or even was consciously aware of the idea that I could tell myself, maybe I don't always have to be so stressed out about this. You can do a lot of things and still get by it just fine and not be super stressed. The point being, the stress was certainly a factor of my life given the structure of my schedule, but also given how much attention I was giving to the fact that I was always stressed. Do you know what I'm saying? I was giving so much focus to that it expanded, it got bigger, and it defined my life because it's where my attention was going. And where my attention goes is where my energy goes. And that influences my entire outlook and experience of life in itself. So just coming back into a state of awareness over where that attention is going and maybe reflecting on the patterns that you have in your life, the habits that you live, the stories that you tell yourself, consciously or subconsciously without even realizing it. Just even, you don't have to journal, you don't have to have a whole ritual on it, but even just taking a second to think, like, are there any thoughts that I'm just kind of believing blindly because I'm just used to them that don't actually serve me? Is there maybe a better way of living that could give me a bit of a higher quality of life that's less stressful, that's a bit more peaceful, that would make me feel better about the world and other people around me? Just think about it. Put your attention towards consciously thinking about it and put intention into how you actually want to be living for yourself. And that's something that can't just be done with half a second of thought, especially if you've never really sat down to think about it before. But so much of my transformation, so much of my experience through life, getting to a much better place than I've been in the past, started with just becoming consciously aware of these things. You cannot change something you're not aware of. How the fuck are you supposed to do that? You're not a magician. Like, there's literally no way to change something that you're not aware of. So I say all that to hopefully remind you guys that it doesn't have to be like a huge, ginormous upheaval of your life to make some positive changes. It can literally just be becoming aware of it and starting small. Always, 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 if you're making change in your life, start small, or else you are not going to fucking stay committed to that shit because that is not what your brain likes. But that's a whole other tangent. I'll get into that in another episode. Another thing that I want to bring your attention to, is the media that you consume. Because, as I've said, your brain is constantly absorbing information, and it is consciously taking in things that you notice based on the beliefs that you hold. We've been through this. But I say this to the point of, even though you only consciously take in so much, your brain is still absorbing the things around you. And this goes true for the things that you watch, anything playing in the background, the music you listen to, the podcasts you listen to, the people you surround yourself with. Those things are all being absorbed, whether or not you're giving conscious thought to it or not. Our subconscious is what creates, this is so fucked up. Our subconscious creates the actual reality, like more than 90% of our reality is created by our subconscious thoughts, because the belief patterns that are so deeply engraved in them it just comes out. Look into Carl Jung. Look into Carl Jung and shadow work if you want to deep dive that rabbit hole. But so much is absorbed all the time, and it is not a coincidence. You ever heard of subliminals? Like subliminal affirmations or things like that. If you go on YouTube and you look up any like subliminal money affirmations or like subliminal manifestation or self-empowerment or whatever, you'll see a lot of videos where if you play them, you'll notice that you don't hear anything talking. You don't hear anything in the background. It's literally just like a solfeggio frequency type of just like, ooh, like meditation kind of music, but there's no words that you can hear. But what's really happening, or, hypothetically, I don't know how much I trust YouTube, given that there's probably some freaking AIs on there just going ham creating videos. But when you go to these, the whole point is that there are words in these videos. And the subliminal message is obviously so that you can just play it in the background and just you subconsciously absorb the words without even thinking about it. Your brain hears them, absorbs them, and the idea is that it sinks into your subconscious and you try to, kind of rewire limiting beliefs or affirm new beliefs of self-empowerment, that money's easy to come by, and all of the good things that people are talking about with money and manifestation and that whole world. But it's very, very powerful because our brain's always absorbing anything around us. This also goes to show for music. Have you ever, this was me like in high school too, you ever listen to music and you like know all the lyrics to a song, and then you just one day you're singing along, and then you actually think about what you're saying and the lyrics that you're saying, And you're like, what am I actually saying? Like, what message is this song? Think about it with like songs that you listen to as a kid, that you listen to as an adult, and you're like, oh my god, what was I saying? I had no idea what I was talking about. Same principle applies. Your brain's still hearing that. Your brain is still absorbing the lyrics that you're saying, the songs that you're listening to. Everything around you is being absorbed. This is story time. This is really something that literally created like formative beliefs for me around the world, because I was a dystopian girly growing up. Like, I read The Hunger Games, Divergent, like all of the standard dystopian books. I read the shit out of those. I watched the movies, and it so bad. It literally programmed me to constantly think that the world was legitimately going to end, like, before I became an adult, like, in our lifetime. Like, actually such crazy shit to say, but I truly held the belief that, like, I can't expect too much good to happen, or I can't look too far into the future, because, like, something terrible is going to happen. It was my biggest fear that, like, some dystopian event was going to happen. Something was going to end the world. There was going to be some tyrannical takeover of the country. There's going to be something awful. And it had a lot to do with, like, me subconsciously absorbing the storylines and so deeply being involved in these books and, like, connected to these characters and the storyline, that it literally sank into my subconscious that I thought that that could be an actual reality. And that just goes to show the power and influence that all of these stories and things that we're absorbing have on us, even if you don't realize it. They truly do. And I know that my example might seem a little extreme, but it's to show you guys, like, I have experienced it. And if I have, I'm sure a lot of other people have too. Like, I literally had to unwire the belief that I was, like, going to become a participant in the Hunger Games or some whack shit like that. Obviously, maybe not that far, but you get the point that I'm making. And even more importantly, news and media outlets, social media. This is like the new dynasty of advertising and capturing your attention. First, I'm going to talk about news outlets. To some people, saying that you don't watch the news or listen to the news might sound entitled, because obviously there are horrible things that happen in this world that deserve to be given attention and support and make things right. That is absolutely true. And if you take a step back from news for like a week, maybe for someone who watches it all the time or every day or whatever, take a step away from it, even for like a day or two, and then come back to it. Just notice the difference in how you feel and your level of peace. I was laughing when I started recording this because a TV on in the room next to the room I record in had the news on, and it was just proving the exact point I'm about to make, which is that literally every single story that news outlets report on is meant to inspire a reaction that gets you to come back. And a really, really good way to do that is to scare people and make them think, like, oh my god, the world is a horrible place to live in. All these horrible things happen all the time. Like, constantly, again, playing to our primal brains, being on the lookout for negative things to happen in anticipation of bad things happening, so we can stay protecting ourselves. But seriously, it's almost, in a horrible way, it is almost comical at this point for me to listen to the TV on for a little bit when the news is on and just hear that someone died, someone got murdered, someone got trapped, someone got kidnapped. Like, every single story is a horrible, horrible thing that happens. And I'm not saying that these things don't matter and to ignore it and to act like nothing happens. And I've absolutely realized and seen in myself too that in order to actually change this world for the better, in order to bring more positivity and love into this world, you cannot do that if you are constantly absorbed in the negativity of every other thing happening in this world. As I said before, there is always going to be good in the world and there's always going to be evil. There's always going to be the positive and the negative. It is what you focus on. And in order to actually outweigh the negative, horrific things that happen, you cannot be so absorbed and just constantly reminded of every single negative thing that happens. And I feel like that is all news outlets do at this point. And I know that might seem like a hot take. Fuck that. I don't even think it's a hot take. I really don't care. Absorbing yourself in negativity to the point where it limits your ability to be able to actually bring your highest truest self into the world, expressed authentically through whatever means that may be, that you're just doing yourself a disservice, and you are limiting your ability to actually put your all into making the world a better place with your positivity. You're still making the world a better place just by being here, by treating people well, by being kind to others, by just existing and being present and having good intentions and a good heart. And you magnify your impact drastically when you allow yourself to focus on the positive, focus on the good, and bring more of that into the world so that you can counteract the negativity, so that you can serve in your highest capacity to help this world become a better place. Tell me it's not crazy though. Like, if anyone actually does take a step away from the news and come back to it, literally DM me and tell me what you think, because like, this shit is whack. It's whack. Like, every single thing is just like death, murder, horrible thing happened, blah blah blah. You know the song Good News Sold? If you don't, it's a good song. It's by Jordan Davis, but it's true. The whole point of the news doing this is so you come back. If you come back, because you're scared and you're fearful and you got to make sure you're in anticipation of something bad happening, so you're going to double check that nothing bad's happening too close to you, then you're going to keep checking their pages where they then, guess what, advertise to you and then make money by doing so. So honestly, attention kind of just boils down to advertising. Well, okay, not completely. You understand what I'm saying with the power of your thoughts and choosing your beliefs and seeing that more in your world. But it is when it comes to like the corporate side of it and like the marketing and the media, your attention is what brings people money. And to quote someone very close to me, when it's not about the money, it's about the money. So this whole episode is not to try to make you guys scared of the world or feel less hopeful about like the state of the world or anything like that. I want to fully empower you as the person listening to understand that you have so much control over your life. You have so much more control over your life and how good it is than you think. You really, 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 really do. And if no one makes that consciously aware to you, if you feel like you're just stuck in these same patterns because you have to be, you don't get out of it until you're aware that there's a different reality that's available to you. And I'm here to tell you a different reality is available to you. It really starts with just choosing it and expanding your mind to understand that of the infinite options around you, the infinite things in this world to absorb, there's different options than what you're choosing right now. And what I care most for you guys is to know and be so confident in yourself, living for your own beliefs based on who you are at your core and what you truly value. And I'm not going to go all rabbit hole deep state. I already said there are systems and people who benefit from having more control over how things are perceived, and that there is a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that goes into that. This is not a message of fear. It is a message of empowerment to say, focus on what's actually important to you. Question why you think the way that you do about things, just from a point of curiosity, not from a point of needing to change it, not from a point of needing to fix it, or thinking that it's bad, or whatever. Everyone, every single person, even the most high and just objective person in the whole world could benefit from questioning why they believe something. Because if you cannot fully explain for yourself why you believe something without quoting someone else, it's not really your belief. You know? It's really not. And you cannot live empowered completely as yourself, most confidently in this world, if you are not living with your own beliefs to start with and making decisions based on what you truly care about, not what you think you have to care about because of something else that you unconsciously absorbed from XYZ system, thing, person, etc. in the world. So I hope this feels like an empowering episode. I really don't mean it to come across as fear-mongering. I'm truly trying, which is so ironic because that's the whole thing I'm trying to get you to get away from, is the fear-mongering. I want you guys to feel like you are empowered to live as yourself, because guess what, guys? Yes, there's bad in the world. There's just as much good. Good always beats evil. There is always more good things to be grateful for than there are bad things to be pessimistic about. And when you focus on the good, when you're grateful, when you focus on things that you are lucky to have and trust that things are going to work out for you rather than trusting that things are going to be fail, your life gets so much better. Fear and faith both require you to believe in something that you cannot see. And you simply make a choice whether or not you want to lean into fear or whether or not you want to lean into faith. Thus, I encourage you to live a happier, more positive, healthy, fulfilling, ambitious, aligned life by choosing to believe in faith, choosing to believe that things are going to work out, and choosing to see the good in things and look for the positive rather than just blindly living for anticipating the negative, always being stressed out, and thinking that that's just how your life has to be. Your life does not have to be like that, and you are not in a place where you cannot control how your life is, because so much of our life is just how you respond to it. How we respond to it is based on our beliefs. Our beliefs and thought patterns can change based on what we give attention to. It all comes back to what you're giving attention to. So what do you guys think? Did you have any new thoughts, any revelations, any little habits, system, ways that you might think about changing your life or changing your beliefs? Are you also a stressed girly? Are you someone who just thinks that you always have to be stressed out? Let me know. Slide into my DMs. My socials are below. I'm here to chat. I'm here to build with you guys. I'm not here to just speak on a podium. I am here for the collective. So with that, go be your most organic selves, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. If you got something out of today's episode, I would so deeply appreciate if you left a rating and or a review of the show on either Apple or Spotify to help put this podcast in more people's ears. Follow along with me on my socials, which are tagged below, and I will see you in the next one.